Sessions at Sunrise, a way to begin every morning. Most mornings, I'm up to see the sun, and I'm used to thinking and feeling in words. I wonder what will animate me today, or what will go away. I find myself in the realm of a hope dealer. I have no suit to put on, just learning to be me, not fancy, just a little clear. Am I doing all I can to preserve great leaders, save geniuses? Am I doing all I can to bring great parents to children, great leaders to organizations? I ask myself this every morning. I ask the emerging sunrise to release me from shunning the mystery as the day unfolds, and the world does not have to be beautiful to work, but it is. So let's meet it where it is, pay close attention to things, and see possibilities. Welcome to Sessions at Sunrise. This is my first show of Sessions at Sunrise, and I think I should tell you why I came up with this show, because I've done I think I'm almost at my 140th podcast. I started podcasting in 2007 with a show called No Hype Allowed, and I composed the concept based on what I thought were some flaws in human potential thinking. And then I went into what's called radical creativity, which I started figuring out there's a combination of creative freedom, creative value, and what I call creative purpose, that if we can unify those things, if we can get access to use the creative process, do that on behalf of becoming essential in our relationships with others, and do that in a way that our most essential self gets expressed, then we do it deliberate, we do it on purpose. We actually combine spirituality and commerce in an effective way through radical creativity. But then I realized that there's a fourth component, and that is the enterprise system, the enterprise growth. Really what money is, what your financial wing of your life is time. That in the economy of means that we're in, if you're a professional creator, entrepreneur, if you earn by taking 100% responsibility for your own security, then what that means is that money truly is time. And I know that because you buy time with your money. See how true that is? I mean, you can tell how discretionary you are by having how much income in the bank or how much saved. So I learned from entrepreneurs that when money buys time, they look at money that way and they prepare what they need to do financially to spend the time the way they envision it. And they motivate their financial production by the way they envision spending their time in their life. Right? So they build a business around serving that as opposed to consuming it. And what I realized is that in pursuing that, in lining up both domains, in having great personal production and great free time and great quality of life, and having fabulous social development, great relationships and depth, and also being able to access what interests you, what fascinates you, in becoming more and more of yourself and learning to be you, it's about four things: your quality of being, your capacity to create, your ability to grow and earn, increase your earning power and value in the marketplace, and your capacity to create more and more value to the relationships that you're in and create the level of intimacy so that responsibility, creativity, and organization come natural. Now we know for sure that you can't build a business on order alone, that nothing stays the same. That I figured out that the way things are going to go is not always according to plan. And you probably know that you bump into a number of accidents, and that as things unfold, it's about what you grab from your experiences. It's about how alert you are and how resourceful you can be with your experiences. And to be ready for anything that's going to arise, to be ready for anything and expect no thing, this is a choice to be present, to come to meet life just as it is. Not because the conditions are lining up, it's about meeting the conditions that are lining up. It's not about getting everything squared away and having a time and place to be able to meet life, like quieting down, meditation, and all that. Not at all. It's about living fully. It's about having a direct experience with the life that's here. And we know that if you do, you will affect the future dramatically. You will. You'll affect the future dramatically if you live more present, you pay better attention, because that's the one thing that you can control is your attention. And so how do you compose that attention? How do you sharpen it like you're chalking a billiard stick? It depends on how you start your day. You're going to have thousands of mornings for the rest of your life. And the morning and the sunrise is something I love to watch because as the day begins, I get that feeling that something great is about to begin. It's kind of like the first day of school. Remember that feeling, that anticipation of not knowing who you were going to see or how people might treat you or what it was going to be like to be in the next grade? Remember all those feelings, the pins and the needles? And then you had that sort of resistance inside to say, I don't want to do this. Remember getting up the first day of school in September? Remember what that felt like? You got to go get on the school bus. It was that yucky feeling. Man, I got to go into it. But at the same time, there was something so energizing about it that it was mysterious. And that out of that mystery, you just knew that some great things were going to come. Some may be good, some may be bad, but you had to meet it where it is. It required kind of warriorship. You had to show up. What the warrior is the one who shows up and is present and does whatever is necessary. Whatever life does, whatever life brings in the door is a wild card. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't think or plan. No, you should set an intention, but it means setting a parenthesis. So one thing in the morning that I like to do is I love to write poetry. I love poetry because I get to hear things in myself that I didn't know that I knew. And it gets me to slow down and really look in detail at my experiences. And then I find all sorts of words that I can connect to the feeling and the aesthetics of the experience. And I think one of the poems that I love waking up to and having a sunrise moment with is a poem by Rumi. And you're probably familiar with Rumi, and it's one of my favorites. It's called One Thing is Forbidden. And I'd like you to consider taking this in and making this perhaps the poem of the week. Look at what's living in this poem. One thing is forbidden. Tonight, with wine being poured and the instruments singing amongst themselves, one thing is forbidden. One thing. Sleep. I can't tell myself secrets. And I can't tell my secrets. I have no key to that door. Something keeps me joyful, but I cannot say what. Happy, not from anything that happens. Warm, not from fire or hot baths. Light, I register 0 on a scale. I hear you, and I am everywhere. A spreading music. You've done this many times. You already own me. But once more, you bind me back into being. Like me, your presence from ground to sky. No one knows what becomes of me when you take me so quickly. Bird song and wind, the water's face, each flower remembering the smell. I know you're close by. When I first encountered this poem, I broke down in tears. It touched me so deeply. And I had just come from having a really nice coffee talk. I got together with a couple of friends. We had a couple of cups of coffee and just talking and hanging out and really not talking about anything within any rules, or it was just talk. It was just hanging out. It was just connecting. It was an intimate space. And I felt that quality of spirit, that collective spirit that is possible, is accessible when we're connected with friends and we're in an atmosphere of trust, where you have the ability to not hold in the private conversation, but bring it to the public conversation. And we kind of depend on the other to sort of invite us out in creating a safe space and feeling it's okay to have naked conversations. And when Rumi describes this moment of hearing the music and this felt sense. It's that thing, it's the forces that are moving us that we pretend to understand. And as the poem says, your presence from ground to sky, you bind me back into being. And then each flower remembering the smell, I know you're close by. I am everywhere. And so we don't need things to happen a certain way, I think, to access our own happiness. It almost implies that our happiness is unintegrated and yet very elemental. And that by being able to meet whatever life is where it is, to meet the other wherever they are with compassion, to be able to not stuff or suppress our wounds, but to be able to meet loss and grief, the death of a loved one, or to be able to meet something truly exuberant in the day that brings jubilee and joy and pleasure, to fully engage in that moment, it requires a sort of attention. It requires mindfulness. It requires a quality of attention. We have to be aware of being aware. And what's interesting is that I find that when I'm actually listening from that place of letting go and not having an agenda, but just clearing a blank slate and entering from there, the other person changes me. And that when you're in the other person's conversation, when you're living and listening in their reality, when you're really feeling their own experience, profoundly you experience a part of yourself that you can't access alone. And the only way to define what those real properties are, the deeper parts, is by trust, is by letting other people change you and coming into the delight, coming into this sense, this felt sense of being moved by forces that we pretend to understand. One thing is forbidden: sleep. Sleeping to what's really there, sleeping to the outer design of our life that's looking in. Because our nature is in threefold ways. We have the outer nature, which is what's emerging. We have the inner nature, which is what's moving from the inside, the rapture. And then deeper than all that is a truer nature. And I believe that's what this poem is really speaking to. I can't tell my secrets. I have no key to that door. Right? I don't know exactly where I come from. I don't need to answer those bigger questions. But happy, not from anything that happens. Light, I register 0 on a scale. Warm, not from fire or hot baths. There is an unintegrated happiness. And it doesn't come from wondering if you're happy or not. It's just a quality of being in the world. And it's not about the future. It's not about the past. You wouldn't dwell there. It's not about thinking about who you are and putting a sleeve over yourself and conveying yourself in an image. Not ego. Right? It's not about you trying to think about what others think, being what others think. It's not about you are what you own, right? It's not about your credentialism or what you've done. You just remember you're a soulful person. And if you start from there, if we start at sunrise remembering that we're a soulful person, then we're going to meet life ready for anything and expecting nothing. And so it's my hope that you take this message in very dearly and near, and that you join me next time on Sessions at Sunrise. It's going to be quick, it's going to be deep, and I know that it's going to stick. And I enjoy having this moment. I enjoy sharing this moment of a great session at sunrise. And I hope that you do meet the sunrise and that you don't deny those things that are just so important in life. So I want to close with this, what I call one morning. And one morning to the cold, clean air, I wonder if I'll ever get to the stars I see in their time. I await the expanse of the blue sky entering like warm bathwater. The church bells of the plaza travel to find the way to every corner. If I were singing like they are, I'd be in heaven. Earth has all sides to offer. Thank you.